Two Queers and a Truck. And I'm Billy James Gunn, and my sidekick, Christian Cano, partner with Gunn, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jim's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon.
Good morning, everybody. It is Two Queers in a Truck time, and we're in November. Wow. Even though I'm still wearing my Halloween costume, because we take 2 shows at a time, and I'm too lazy to go. We go straight into 2 back-to-back recordings.
No, it's a pumpkin outfit.
It's a pumpkin outfit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's we're kind of celebrating.
That's right.
The 1 year pre-anniversary of the midterm elections.
That's right.
Which we will talk about in this episode, because we are T-minus a year from the election, but that's not this segment. We're going to talk about the shutdown and presidential weakness. And several years ago, when there was a brief shutdown during the Obama administration, mainly because of Republicans and their jackassness, he called President Obama weak because he planned on running for president himself, and he wanted to run for president for quite a while. And he criticized President Obama, and I don't remember what part of the Obama administration he did, but he, of course, he hated Obama. He's the one that started the birther movement and the birth certificate thing and all the ridiculous stuff. But there's Republicans calling out Trump, and specifically his used to be his fucking right-hand woman, MTG, the MAGA queen, all more like a MAGA king, because I'm sure her penis is bigger than Trump's, actually, is MTG has been very vocal about a couple of things. One, that the healthcare credits need to be restored. You have to realize MTG's district is a very working-class district in northwest Georgia. It is very manufacturing based, and a lot of these cuts are going to affect her district directly, which will kill her popularity. Republican rural districts like that are very welfare based, and these governmental incentives for healthcare, for Medicare, Medicaid, solar, because one of the biggest solar plants in the world to make the accoutrement that goes for the solar industry is in her district. Billions of dollars get pumped in that every year by the solar and federal government. And she's got a lot to lose with budget cuts and shutdowns. Her district can suffer immeasurably. The second thing is she wants the Epstein files unredacted and released yesterday. She's pissed the Congress, the House specifically, that employs her, is not open. She is pissed at Holy Mike. She is pissed at Trump, because Trump's ultimately behind this. Holy Mike isn't making decisions for himself. I mean, between his wife, his teenage son, and Trump, they run his life, which in turn they run the Speaker of the House, which is kind of scary. Between him and his masturbation app that's supposed to keep him from masturbating, and his accountability coach, which is his teenage son, which is kind of scary, and his weird trad wife, holy roller wife. It's a whole, with that weird mousy voice that she uses that a lot of those evangelical women use, that mousy, mealy mouth, fake, put on show. It just is really, really weird. The whole thing is just, as Tim Waltz said, MAGAs are creepy. Trump's creepy. That whole movement is just so plastic banana. And there's a grift, and one of the biggest grifters is MTG, But this is one of the few times progressives and liberals are kind of going, God, this MTG makes fucking sense. Like all of a sudden, some switch is flipped in her, and she's siding with the Dems. She wants to vote with the Dems and release those files. She wants to vote for the Dems, get the government back open. And this is why they've only worked 14 days in 5 months, is because there's more and more Republicans in the House that want to do the right thing. And this is what I said back years ago, late in 2019 and early in 2020. In the end, it'll be the Republicans that undo the Trump empire. It will not be Democrats because we can't get it together long enough to do it. It will be his own people. The party of eating each other's faces off like leopards. They will turn on him. It was Republicans that really brought down Nixon and Reagan and people, inconsequential like Santos and Matty Cawthorn and all those people. Is the Republicans, more powerful and useless, always get undone by the Republicans. It was a MAGA that shot Charlie Kirk. It's MAGAs that typically do most of the domestic terrorism, just as we saw in the King's March. The only people who got arrested were MAGAs. And this is the problem. And MTG, I titled this section, MTG Strikes Back. She's going hard in the paint. And she's getting traction. She's a national figure, and she's the top fundraising Republican House member. She raises more money than anybody else. She's a cash cow. And she will not direct that money to other MAGAs that don't vote her way. She decides where that money goes because it goes into her fund. So she decides what other MAGA politicians get help in that House campaign. She keep all that money herself. Just say, fuck you guys. Kind of like Cartman does on South Park. Fuck you guys. On other grifting news, which, by the way, I saw the best acronym for Doge, Department of Grifting Endlessly. And it's kind of fits the whole Trump, Elon Musk, Kristi Noem, the puppy killer, deal. Mm-hmm. But it's come to light that DHS has agreed to buy 2 luxury private planes. And these are posh planes. They're going to cost taxpayers $172 million. Enough to pay for every school lunch in the United States and then some. Or Meals on the Wheels or anything else. And this is why I mentioned Doge, because Doge was allegedly supposed to save our country money. It did none of that. All it did was give Elon Musk and his little cronies direct access to the most private information and Social Security information for whatever nefarious purposes. And they left with this information. All of our Social Security information and vital information is in the hands of Elon Musk. For what? I don't know. Think about that for a while and think about the access he has to AI technology, supercomputing, and the companies his own. And that is a scary fucking thing. If you aren't scared, there's things, that controversies we'll have trials for the next 20 years because of this administration and all the civilian population that has gone along with this, including probably some Hague trials on human rights violations, because there's been plenty, too many to even mention. But the biggest grift, the most public grift, is the fact that, Ice Barbie, the puppy killer, is going to be flying around in 2 luxury jets. Not 1 luxury jet, but 2. At almost $100 million a pop. And you got to wonder, between Trump's lavish expenses on golf trips, the grifting, the backroom deals that he's cutting this year, that he's cut when he wasn't president with the idea he's going to win the presidency, the mysterious killing of Charlie Kirk, the almost assassination of J.D. Vance under Marine fire, is what the fuck's going on and why aren't we having hearings? And it really, really, now that we're a year away from midterms, we seriously need to think about what we're going to do. And we'll talk about that more later on this show. But we really got to question this administration. There needs to be lawsuits filed by state AGs that are Democrats over stuff like this, and we need to tie them in court. We need to block it as much as possible because 172 million on 2 private jets. That is why she is the Marie Antoinette of this administration. She is. People are losing their health care. We're going to see health care costs triple in the Affordable, Non-Affordable Care Act now. We're going to see benefits cut nationwide. We're going to see all kinds of crazy things get unfunded that have been in place for a long time. But we do have money to build a $200 million ballroom that's gold plated on the inside. It is going to be a tacky son of a bitch and an eyesore on the White House lawn. We saw the Rose Garden already plowed and paved over. Now it looks like a parking lot. And on top of it, we got 2 luxury jets for a woman that holds a post that doesn't need luxury jets. She needs a pickup truck and I guess a shotgun for puppies. That's about it. That's about it. She's head of DHS, which is basically a law enforcement wing of the federal government. But we're up against our first break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in the Truck. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, boo. Happy Pride. Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening to Two Queers in a Truck. And we do broadcast on YouTube and Facebook in a video version. And we're also on all the audio platforms out there. So your favorite way to listen to your podcast. We've been doing this for a couple years, and we appreciate y'all listening. We know you have a ton of choices, even though we may be the best choice. We always appreciate our listeners, and we'll try to bring you quality in the future. Thanks for listening. As always, Christian and Jenny, we're out. Thank y'all. And we are back. Skylar Phillips, 24-year-old from Columbia, Tennessee, planned on and was building a drone to attack a electrical grid plant of some sort in Tennessee. He just got convicted. A MAGA, hardcore MAGA, wacko. But he had planned on, he wanted to do something big and splashing and explosive. And so he in his manifesto, which these nut jobs always do, they always have some kind of manifesto, some kind of fucking rambling, Trump-like Orwellian fucking speech where they think they're more important than they really are. Plan on flying these drones into an electrical grid transfer plant, I believe is what it was, in Columbia, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And this nut job, this Skylar Phillips, this little troll, was, for whatever reason, wanting to do it. 24 years old. And you wonder what these MAGA homeschool, church school scams are doing to the youth. And you wonder what they're teaching them, because you're seeing shit like this. You just saw the controversy with the young Republicans the last few weeks, where the transcripts, like 2,900 messages or something like that between them, and they were using the N-word and talking about, lynchings being cool and all kinds of other crazy stuff, and we probably using the N-word, and I'm sure every slur that you can think of, and talking about the Holocaust, and how mass executions are cool, and just crazy stuff. The stuff on these transcripts that have been leaked with this communication tool gives you. Everybody always finds out these controversies at some point. You can't keep anything a secret forever like this, no matter what it is. And whether it's the Epstein Island, P. Diddy, this kind of craziness. You can't hide forever. Not in this modern era. And these fools, the stuff that is said, everybody knows Republicans talk like this because they do. But they used to keep the crazy kind of to real small circles. And they've gotten more and more brazen because one of their own, the nuttiest of nutty, their loony king, is made it cool to be a bigot again. Bull, just to be a fucking asshole. Just a big old gelatinous deal of ass juice and crockery. And this guy is just, old syphilis hands is just nuts. And so, it's empowered the stupidest of the stupidest. And we're watching Idiocracy and the dictator make a butt baby, and it's This America right now. Two really funny comedies that are starting to turn into documentaries. And if you want to watch what America has become, watch The Dictator by Sacha Baron Cohen, the guy who did Borat, and watch Idiocracy, a 2005 movie that was supposed to make fun of George W. Bush, but honestly, it's more appropriate for the real dumbest. I mean, George W. Bush was the dumbest president in history till Trump. And George W. Bush, the only time he supported Trump being president is to relieve him of that title, because it was Ford, then it was Bush Jr., and then now Trump. And Trump, McForeskin, is definitely the scariest, dumbest human being we've ever had as president. I don't think, unless we bring a totally brain dead person into the presidency, which Trump kind of is, but that'd be the only way to have somebody dumber.
Yeah.
Because you look at this guy and he's just you can't even understand him talk anymore. This guy just rambles on, or he falls asleep. He's fallen asleep so many times in public appearances this year. It's not even funny, where he just sits there and just literally sits down in a chair and just fucking nods off. He didn't give a shit. New York Open, sleeping through most of it. Everything he goes to, he pretty much sleeps. If he's not getting a gift, he's like a toddler. If he's not getting a gift or getting aggrandized, he just said, fuck it. If it doesn't ingratiate me somehow, I don't care. I'm just gonna fall asleep. I'm just gonna take my ball and go home. I'm old and fat. And probably in some kind of McDonald's coma most of the time. Anyway, all of the DHS, ICE, all of those parts of the federal government, all those employees are still getting paid. Whereas other workers, air traffic controllers, those pesky little important people, things like that, they're not getting paid. Special needs teachers that had federal funding, they're getting laid off. All kinds of really important personnel are either getting furloughed, calling in sick. Like a lot of air traffic controllers are starting to call in sick and use their paid leave that they know they'll get paid for when federal government kicks back in. They'll get their back pay. There's nothing to do. They're unionized. They don't. What are you going to do? Fire them all? All of our planes will be sitting on the ground too. It's so. Right now, it's probably not a good time to get in an airplane. I can tell you that much. Because the air traffic controllers are being pushed to the limit. But with DHS and ICE, every one of those employees is getting paid. Very important to point out. And again, their grifter in chief, the puppy killer, is getting her luxury jets. The entire ICE budget's being paid on time while the government shut down. Think about that for a second. $200 million ballroom. Of course, Trump probably will stiff all the contractors on that like he usually does. 2 luxury jets, and all the ICE DHS employees are getting paid. It tells you where their priorities are. It tells you who they are. Like Christian likes to say, when they tell you who they are, believe them. We're seeing it. We're seeing full frontal, incompetent, impotent, Nazi fascist behavior, where the most incompetent and stupid are in charge. Christian Cano, dumber than a box of rocks. And that's an insult to the rocks. This chick has no idea what she's doing. No law enforcement background, other than, I guess, maybe those puppies committed some kind of crime and they got the death penalty for being puppies. But other than that, and the other crime is her fashion choices. But in that face. But that's a felony waiting to happen. I mean, she looks like typical MAGA woman. Either MAGA women, the rank and file ones mostly are overweight trailer trash that look like a bucket of chicken with legs, or they look like a blow up doll. Especially Ice Barbie and Fun Bags Bobert. They look literally like they're. They look like a cheap inflatable Chinese one, not one of those real animatronic, almost robotic ones that can talk now and stuff like that. They're like $6,000, but like the cheap blow up ones that you would blow up like a floaty in a pool. That's literally what a lot of them look like now. I don't know why they believe that was the look to go for, but they have. They went from the Karen look to the friggin' inflatable doll look. Why isn't Christy Noem in jail? She grifted $80,000 from some kind of fake nonprofit or campaign thing. And almost all of it went to her plastic surgeries and procedures. And her, which is illegal. It's what George Santos went to jail for, among other things. It's fraud. It's misuse of money. And they did it. And why isn't she an Islamer? And why isn't the IRS paying attention to that? Of course, obviously, she works for Trump, and Trump is boss of the IRS, so I'm sure nothing's ever going to happen to her, but she should be in prison by now. That should be investigated. If we had a real Department of Justice and a real rule of law, she should be in jail. She should have been arrested a long time ago. And definitely should be running a law enforcement branch. DHS is in charge of the Coast Guard now. A whole bunch of, the transportation cops, the friggin'. Well, it's scary that she is in charge of that, and she's nothing but a grifter and a criminal herself. And an all-around thug. Anyway, we're up against our second break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in the Truck after these important messages. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, bye. Hey, y'all, this is Jenny with Two Queers in the Truck, and Christian's along with me. And we're just having fun, and we're looking forward to the 2025 season, and super excited. We have some neat things going on in our whole family of shows, including Coffee and Pan Dulce, and many new shows that are brewing. Get it. And we are excited for 2025 and all the chicanery and other things that comes with it. So happy New Year, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Bye, boo.
Hi, everybody. This is Yorense from the Espera Cash Show over here. All I'm here is doing a little quick PSA. Use this summer to do volunteer work. Go to your nearest YMCA. Go to your nearest homeless shelter. Go to whatever community services or programs that you can help out and volunteer. Because right now, we have a bunch of fascist pieces of shit trying to rip apart our country and rip apart the people, our communities, by spreading hate and bigotry. The best way to combat it is, one, working in your community and standing strong to show that you are strong and you're here to help out others. Two, combat misinformation. If you hear bullshit, first research and make sure if it's true or not. If it is not true, call it out. If it is true, get the facts. Be knowledgeable of it because it might come out later. So always stand against that. And three, fuck fascists. Stand against them. Make them feel uncomfortable. There is too many people out there feeling like they can say the hard R or say slurs or be violent. Make them understand that a lot of people die to make sure this hatred and bigotry does not exist. All our civil rights workers, all the people who restored normity, everybody who fought against intolerance and hatred, they died and worked their asses off to stop this. So follow in their footsteps and stop this madness. This is Yorense again from Espera Que, and all I can say is be there for your community and stand up for what's right. Fuck fascism and have a wonderful day.
But we got to get to more important things. And I like to call this section Size Matters. And one of the reasons that Trump was so pissed over the weekend is because the crowds for his lame birthday thing this last summer were minimal. There was almost nobody there. A few idiots in pickup trucks showed up and just made a shat all over Washington, D.C. Just trashed the place. It looked like, another hillbilly, Kid Rock concert, condoms, buckets of discarded buckets of chicken, old chicken bones, fucking mashed potato gravy stains, remnants of biscuits, probably some cornbread, and whatever hillbillies consume, probably some moonshine bottles, meth. But the crowd was minimal. It was an embarrassment. They spent millions of dollars on that military parade for dear leader. It was a complete and total bust. Nobody really showed up. Over the weekend, almost 8 million people in multiple nations and all over the United States, coast to coast, all 50 states had a No Kings March. Now, granted, I'm going to hold my breath on whether this is going to have any real meaningful long-term results. The Women's March and the Black Lives Matter marches of 2020 really didn't do anything. Didn't really turn into a sustainable movement. There was no real follow-up because once Biden was sworn in, we just kind of gave up. We were literally Democrats, the liberals, and the progressives just shit the bed for 2 years and gave way to the MAGA Nazis again. But overall, it was impressive enough to really disturb Trump. But he's not real scared because he also made an AI of, bombing shit on them and still 2 days later starts destruction and the tear down of the East Wing illegally. Because he realizes life goes on. I'm going to bitch about this crowd size and the illegitimacy of the No Kings movement. And the fact is, he's fucking sitting back and counting money. He's taking it all the way to the bank. This guy's not going to be stopped unless we stop him in the midterms. That's the first step of stopping this guy, stopping the fascists. And we're at the 1 year mark from the midterms right now. We're 1 year away. 1 year from now, votes will be cast for the midterm elections and select gubernatorial races and a lot of things in 2026. And this election, and we say it all the time how important it is, but if you don't like what you see now, mark that date. Plan for that date. Plan for the dates for the primaries this spring and plan for the stuff next fall. Because these things, these run-ups, these governor races, all this is very important. We're changing. We have governors up for re-election or new elections. Several states now have term limits, including Florida and California. We'll be getting a new governor next year, which is good for Gavin Newsom because he's going to run for president in 2028 if we have presidential elections. And we've already had several California power players in the Democratic Party, already started running for this. Florida is up for grabs. Dick Suckus, Governor Sissy Boots, came out more, so they're going to have a new governor. That's a very important state. A Democrat governor would make all the difference in the world. Many states are electing attorney generals next year. Very, very important. They decide in that state what lawsuits they file, class action suits they file, and they're the top law enforcement officer. Really, the AG's office in most states is very, very powerful and decides the rule of law and which law they follow and which laws they create or pull out of thin air. Like a Ken Paxton in Texas. That's a great time to get rid of that motherfucker.
Exactly.
Great time to get rid of Hot Wheels out of it. And so many other people in these problematic states. But California, Texas, and Florida, the big three, are all up for grabs next year, governor-wise. These are important elections. Between that and a third of the Senate and all of the House is decided next year. This is the time to make America great. This is the time to take 3 of the top 5 populated states and start to turn them around. There are more registered Democrats in Texas, Florida, and California than there are Republicans. There is no reason those governorships shouldn't be blue, other than Democrat laziness and the laziest of the youngest of our population that can vote. Millennials and Gen Z need to be ashamed of themselves, and they need to get their shit together. And they need to get the fuck out and vote. You have a month to vote in the primaries in most states and a month to vote in the general elections. Nobody's that fucking busy that you can't take time out to go on a lunch break, mail in a ballot when available, or do the early voting. Most states have Saturday voting now. There's got to be a day of the week. Most states have 6-day-a-week voting in both the primaries and the general election. We got to get our shit together, people. And I'm talking to the younger people because I had this conversation again with my significant other over the weekend. And I said, because she's a millennial, she's an older millennial. I said to her, I said, there's a lot of things Gen Xers have done wrong. But there's a lot of things millennials have done worse. One of them is they never sustained a movement in their own generation. The second thing is, you guys haven't done real good on the voting side. And you guys are old enough. You know, a lot of you guys are in the 40s now. The older millennials are in their 40s, including, well, I'm not going to say how old she is. But, I almost got in a trick bag there. Glad she doesn't watch the show. But millennials and Gen Z are the largest 2-generation voting bloc in the United States. Baby boomers are dying at almost 5,000 to 6,000 a day. Almost all of them are retiring, or almost all of them are retired. There's very few baby boomers that are still working. Gen X is getting to that senior level. These 2 generations, the millennials that are middle-aged now and can run for president, and Gen Z that can run for office, they got to get it together. Gen Alpha, the next generation past Gen Z, some of them are old enough to vote now. And these are huge generations. They're a big part of our 330 million Americans, and they're way bigger than Gen X. Mm-hmm. And they've caught and passed the baby boomer generation. So there's no reason for these people not to vote, especially the ones that are registered and don't vote. In Texas, in the last 2 elections, more people didn't vote that were registered than voted. There is twice as many Texans registered as Democrats than Republicans. No statewide office in Texas should be held by Republicans. The minority party there. It's the smallest party by half. Nationwide, there's twice as many registered Democrats as Republicans. There should never be a general election that the Democrats should lose. It's a failure on the Democrats to organize and sustain movements. And honestly, it's a tribute to the Republicans to be able to ever hold office. There shouldn't be a Democrat president. There shouldn't have been one this century. But yet, Republicans I mean, there shouldn't be Republican presidents this century. But yet, 4 times Republicans this century have won the presidency. That should be impossible. So we have the numbers in our favor theoretically, but Democrats don't execute. And that's shame on us. 18 million Democrats stayed home in 2024. 18 million. Because it was a black woman running. And I'm going to say it. See now old Biden that just rang the bell on his cancer cure this week? Probably would have won. Because obviously Americans don't worry about people with dementia being president. We're not worried about somebody being too old if they're too female and they're too black. As we've seen with Hillary Clinton being a white woman, a famous white woman, and Harris being a famous black woman of color, they both lost to Trump. And Harris lost the popular vote and the electoral college. Hillary just lost the electoral college, which it's time to get rid of that too. That only gives minority parties, smaller parties, too much outsized political power. Wyoming has an electoral college vote for every 170,000 people. California only has electoral college representation for every 700,000 residents. Because we are tremendously underrepresented in California in the electoral college. And it's a crying shame. Whereas small population states, shithole states like South Dakota, Wyoming, places like that, should have almost no influence on the presidential election. They should have equally sized, which is just a straight ticket, winner take all election. No other political race in the United States is decided by arbitrary ratioed, unfair ratioed, unequitable electoral college. Popular vote carries the day. That's what carries a democracy. Whoever gets the most votes wins. It's as simple as that. And the presidency should be no different. But this midterm talk was the last topic, and I rolled into it a little early because I want to tie that size matters, that size those crowds, that 3.5% mark that is supposed to be one of the benchmarks of a sustainable movement. But the second caveat is the follow-up, the action plan, which this second No Kings March, other than talking about a next march, is the only thing that happened. That was a fail on this movement. There should have been more coordination to motivate people to vote. This should have been a blitz in the media to elect Democrats and progressive candidates. There should have been more concentration on that and less concentration with profiles and smiles and showboating. This was a showboat march. Honestly, it's a fail. The No Kings March didn't generate the political momentum it needs to generate. The same way the Women's March failed. It was also an absolute failure. We had women's marches for 4 or 5 years, yet Roe v. versus Wade and Democrats getting slaughtered in congressional races in the midterms of 2022 happened in the same year. Because women in the Women's March organization did never ever make it a sustainable movement, sustainable political movement. Women are the majority in this country, and they should be winning. They should be making a difference. But yet, they let a Supreme Court strike down Roe versus Wade. They allowed the midterms to get hijacked by the Republicans, the Republican lawns. They allowed a lot of Republican heads of states in different states get reelected. There's no way Governor Sissy Boots and Governor Hot Wells Abbott in Florida and Texas, respectively, should have been reelected in 2022. with qualified candidates, especially in Texas, running against them. It's the Democrats that failed. It's our progressive and liberal movements that failed. And we have to do better. Our theme needs to be, we need to do better. Just as Biden's theme was Build Back Better, Democrats need to switch it to either just do it and license that through Nike, or do better. Do better, America. It's kind of like the malaise that Jimmy Carter talked about. Democrats fall into that deal. He was right. Democrats fall into a malaise. They just fucking space it out. Democrats tend to be kind of lazy when it comes to politics. Republicans do it better. There's no reason that the party of FDR, Truman, JFK, Clinton, Obama, and most recently Biden should ever take a backseat to MAGAs. We shouldn't. They're the dumbest of us. But we're getting beat by the big dummies. So who's the dummy? It's tough to look in the mirror. Because I'm a Democrat too. I'm just as responsible. We all are. If you vote the blue way, it's gut check time. We're at the halftime mark for this midterms. We're at halftime right now. This should be the time these conversations should happen. Because nationwide, by the end of November and going into December, you can start registering to run for office. This is the time. November should be the recruitment month. We should be qualifying and helping young candidates, qualified candidates, to inspire them to run for office. And then we need to fucking support them equitably. We shouldn't be concentrating on one or two races. We need to run hard in everything. 2026 needs to be the great push. Or as FDR said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. This is our golden hour. We need to have both the audacity of hope and the economy matters. Stupid. We need to have these conversations again. We can't just rely on us being smarter or right, because that doesn't matter. People want to see leadership. And that starts at the top. The body and eyes from the head down, not the toes up. Our leaders in our party, if they can't get it together, step aside. Bernie Sanders, you need to step aside. AOC, step aside. You're not the leaders. You had your shot. You blew it. The Hillarys, the Harrises, and everybody else at the top brass in the Democratic Party need to be quiet. We need to just be a cheerleader. We need to find those next generational leaders. We need to look towards the Gavin Newsoms, the Katie Porters, the ones that are the firebrand politicians in our party. But the Chuck Schumers, they're the cucks of the MAGA movement. They are letting themselves being cucked. And we need to hear something different. Because Americans didn't hear anything different last year. And it cost us 18 million votes. And those 18 million votes mostly came from millennial and Gen Z voters. To those younger generations that are Democrats, shame on you. You elected Trump. Shame on you. Silence is consent. Nazis cannot win. Nazis were the minority party in Germany, yet they kept winning through intimidation and sheer will. Gut check time. This is halftime, bitches. Get it together. I am out. I'll see y'all next week. This is a little bit more 2 queers a month. This is your Come to Jesus meeting. Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. And we're in turkey season. It is gobble gobble mine. And it is November. But also too, important for you voters out there, check your registration. Make sure you're still registered. We got a midterm primary in a general election in the next few months. Between now and a year from now, right now, we decide what Congress looks like. We decide many gubernatorial races too. There's so many important elections next year, but it starts now, and it starts with you. All of our listeners, all of our loyal listeners that I am thankful to have, Christian is too. You guys matter. And if you don't show up, it matters too. That's how we end up with Trump. Don't let that happen to us again. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk or vote Republican. Alright? Do it tomorrow. If you're not registered to vote, go get registered. If you are registered to vote, make sure you're still in voter rolls if you haven't participated in a while. But most of all, make a plan. Influence your party. Go to the meetings. Be part of it. It takes a little bit of time. But what else can you do? Watch TV? Watch them all burn down? Watch Fox News? No. You're not going to get out of the garbage can either. Go educate yourself in this beautiful experiment that could die. Democracy is just like your teeth. Ignore your teeth and ignore your democracy. It goes away. Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Bye, y'all.